how aggressive it plays out, Rebel could go ahead and start off 2-0, but I think eUnited has it overall. They have the depth and strategy. They played these maps before as, like you said, that same 4-stack. So I think that's just up to Addvers. It's up to Rebel here to perform in the series.
Well, let's get it going, ladies and gentlemen. It is time to start off our first series for the Gears Pro League Split 3 Phase 2. I'm excited to see how Rebel is going to perform, and Identivez starts us off strong, picking up Praized with the M-bar. Addvers will pick up those frags, but meanwhile at the hill itself, Identivez might be sitting pretty connected with the M-bar, but eUnited dominates Rebel for the first fight.
Yeah, you just gotta make sure you can't be wasting these shots like this if you're Identivez. You gotta make sure your teammates are in a position to where if you hit a body shot, they're there to either clean it up, keep things moving. You can't just waste these shots and then expect something to happen off a respawn, but you see all three members gearing it up. Identivez is gonna slow down, take his time. We know how important having control over that good side is. They're just trying to stall. They're trying to put a stop to the bleeding here. Addvers goes down early. Crack actually gets eliminated. Praized gets his life taken out, and things have twist and turned upside down. Rebel, the last second, build that momentum. They get Slaying on their side, but they're only going to get 20 seconds, even less here, before everybody is forced to rotate to the top right-hand corner of the map. And you already see all four members of eUnited. They're focused. They have the target set, and they're ready to attack.
Now, one of the things Rebel can do to capitalize on eUnited's weaknesses, at least from what I've noticed throughout, really phase 1 when control was introduced, is that eUnited heats up in the beginning of the map usually, and that's across all maps, Jacob, but then they start to taper off, slow down quite a bit. Now, I don't know if that's a stamina thing. I don't know if that's like they get too comfortable with the lead, because sometimes they'll have a lead and then they allow the other team to come back. Great shot from Identivez on Powerz, by the way. We know Identivez has to step up here, and he understands the position he's in, so this very well could be the best season from Identivez that we've seen in quite some time, or best split anyways, or best phase. But again, for Rebel, they can capitalize off of eUnited's lackluster rotations, because I don't feel eUnited rotates when they need to.
Yeah, right now, they waste a lot of time off of that clock. There's about 45 seconds left. If Rebel's able to hold on, and I'm not saying if they lose, but if this goes dead even, this is going to be good for Rebel. They're able to kind of catch up. You see the elimination going their way. Addvers, 2 big ones, and that's what we needed to see out of him. Replacing Demon, those are big shoes to fill, especially in the slaying category, but they're able to hold on, successfully push out these players, and you see them all kind of disperse outward. They have the spawn down low. They want to block off this next M-bar, and they have the position. They have the numbers to do it. 2 more big eliminations.
Wow.
Xplosive gets the frag grenade. He's trying to make something out of nothing here. Gets 1 elimination onto Identivez. I think that's going to be it. They have them swarmed. They have them trapped. The M-bar going in way of UIU, but the lead changed over heavily to Rebel. So now it's kind of toss and turn. It's give and take here. So now it's going to be up to Rebel. They have to stop eUnited here from gaining these points and getting the lead right back.
eUnited does a great job of forcing themselves into this hill. Now they got to get through Identivez, who's been absolutely on fire, but unfortunately stuck between a rock and a hard place. The rock being Powerz, the hard place being Kenny. He will fall, and eUnited will start to close out that minor gap, minor deficit that Rebel was able to implement and put onto them. Of course, you mentioned Praized with the M-bar. It's the first time we have seen eUnited with the M-bar. Granted, it's only the second time the M-bar has been put in play. The first time was Identivez, the second time Praized, and Praized connects on the Kardia. Very well done. Interesting position though for Addvers over trying to get a side angle here, but eUnited being very aggressive, pushing up, and I love the fact they're staggering out the deaths. Very well done from EU.
Yep, and holding that spawn point towards the top side is going to be very, very important, because a lot of teams look to attack that spawn point. Xplosive trying to catch Identivez off guard. He gets caught out of position by himself, opening up for an attack. You see 3 members. The shadow, at least the outline, you know what they're going to attack for. Frag grenades, splash grenades towards the outside as well. They're pushing Praized as far back as possible. My only fear is it being a little too late. 23 seconds left onto that hill. Kenny's able to get 1 elimination. Addvers goes down as well. If they lose this fight completely, they're giving up control, at least the early portion of control over this next hill, but it's going to be up to Identivez yet again. He has to make sure to stay unnoticed as long as possible, but it looks like they're trying to angle him out. Go for 2 eliminations at once. Kenny, Xplosive fighting together. Identivez, he needs to figure out a way to stay alive. He goes down. The elimination picked up. Crack. He's going to be there to be the hero. Everything falling in way of Rebel.
Yeah, very well done, Rebel, controlling that statue, doing a great job, ultimately getting the points for themselves, and they've kept this round very competitive. And again, this would be a big win for Rebel, but you know, for eUnited, they have struggled on control in general. Regency has been one of you know, kind of their weak points. Even if they're winning, right, they're not winning in a dominant way. They're definitely showing that they're a bit sluggish, in, whether it be rotations and other things. But great pressure in mid. Explosive and Praized having a very difficult time.
Yeah, they're just getting trapped down there. Even when there were 3 people, they have that high ground. They have the multiple angles. Rebel, it's like shooting fish in a barrel, making it look easy, but towards the top side, Powerz, he's trying to get some sort of advantage, kept somebody off guard, create some separation for a 1v1. He doesn't take it while he had it against Identivez a little bit too long. Reinforcements game. They're going to hold on to their advantage. That's going to allow them not only catch up, gain the lead, but pad a little bit of that cushion as there's 28 seconds left onto that hill. And they're doing a good job of controlling the middle portions of the map and knowing which side eUnited is spawning. They're getting that information quick, and they're attacking with such little time left on the hill. They know the next one's going to be that spawn point towards the bottom. They want to control both the hill and the spawn point towards the top.
So to point out, by the way, Identivez 16 eliminations already. Very early, we could be looking at a high elimination game coming out from him. And again, Identivez, the veteran of the scene, you know, for Latin America, representing, you know, really one of the only trophies they have currently. But for Identivez, he knows the position he's in. As I said before, he's got big shoes to, well, not even big shoes to fill. He just really has to step it up and be that dominant Identivez slayer that we expected him and knew him to be, more so than I think he transitioned when Steven was on the roster, kind of, you know, playing more of the utilitarian role. But big fights in mid now as Kardia is going to try and stay up. Praized, though, will get the off angle, take him down. And eUnited trying to close out this 30-point deficit. But again, a very competitive Regency control.
Yeah, this is a little bit more surprising than I thought, but I don't know what to pinpoint that on Rebel. You can obviously see they're playing very, very well. Addvers is fitting pretty good into the system. They're attacking fast, and they're being very, very decisive. Whether it's a right play or a wrong play, they're doing it together. And that's what I always say. It's much harder to learn to play together as a team, especially when you've been individuals for so long, than it is to figure out what it is to be the right play or the wrong play. You can make lemons, or you can make lemonade out of anything at this point. I don't know how the saying goes, but eUnited knows how to defend this hill. 2 eliminations being picked up so far. This is where they're going to attack. They know they have them pushed back. They know they have the position, the high ground yet again. The tables have definitely turned since that neutral hill.
I think it's called taking a rotten steak and making lemonade out of it. I don't know. Maybe you're an alchemist if you do that, but it'd be highly impressive. I don't think that's a saying at all. Don't quote me on that, and don't ever say that. Okay, because you would, you know. But hey, man, Praized picks up those frags. Kenny's going to take down Crack, but they managed to get away. Maybe not. Crack will lose his life ultimately, and I believe he had the M-bar, if I'm not mistaken, though. Kenny turns around, takes down Addvers. Very well done. Kardia, you're by yourself. You're trapped between 3 members of eUnited, and he's going to fall ultimately. Tough spot to be in. Nothing he can really do. Fresh Hill's coming up, and EU has it.
This is where eUnited, they're going to spread out. They want to make sure to hold that spawn point near the bottom, get as much information as possible. You already see Kardia getting marked out, rotating towards the bottom. Identivez picking up the shock alone is going to give up his position. They know 2 players are at least towards the bottom portions of this match. Kardia is going to get spotted out again. Identivez gets called out and spotted out. So 2 players are obviously being pushed down low, and he's trying to hold as much defense as possible, but he goes down. 2 players down for Rebel. That's going to be a quick cleanup. Addvers and Crack trying to do something at the back side of the hill. They're able to push through, but nothing is going their way just yet. 1 goes down. Crack unable to find the elimination. Yes, he does. He's able to find 2 actually, and he's still alive. Powerz holding his shot, being as patient as can be. He's going to find the cleanup, but that created an opportunity for Rebel to continue to attack this hill.
And Rebel is going to continue to attack. Identivez is going to fall. Kardia, you can tell he sidesteps back, maybe thinking about going for the pickup. Unfortunately, the pressure was too real from Powerz and Explosive. Trade will take place between Addvers and Explosive. He's down, and, well, here we are going to be.
Powerz holding on towards this neutral spot, trying to catch anybody out of position. Depending if Identivez saw him over the cover, this is where his position is going to be given away. Powerz trying to catch him off guard, trying to keep the death staggered. He has a cross over the top, so this is a 2v2 that we're falling on board with. Crack goes down as well. That's going to put some pressure on the Rebel, not only to stay alive, but find the eliminations. Identivez goes down. eUnited are beginning to swarm. Quick revive being picked up, but Kenny takes a lot of damage. They know they're winning the fight elsewhere on the map, and that's why you see them backtrack. That's why you see them back up and force these members of Rebel into them. It forced Identivez and Addvers into a bad positioning which led to their death, giving up both the M-bar and the frag grenades, but it's Crack yet again. Another double kill. He's doing everything in his power to keep Rebel at least in this game.
Yeah, Crack Identivez have stepped it up tremendously. Going to be honest with you, Addvers has been playing very well in his own right too. So Rebel not struggling as much as I was expecting them to struggle. I would love to see them play against like a Rise or a BQ in the future, but here we have eUnited obviously. But I will say this, it is a highly competitive match. I'm happy with how Rebel is performing so far, and they very well can win this. It's so close, 30 points separated, or less than 30 points in general, and eUnited still pushing forward to try and get the break. And if you remember off the start, eUnited got a lot of points from the Flowers Hill, but once we rotated over to the next, that's where Rebel started to catch up. Getting this late into the game, so close to 300-point mark, every hill counts.
Yeah, you just got to make sure you have the overall big picture set in mind. You're not going to win off of this hill. You're going to have to play for the next. And you already see Kenny making those big brain plays. All that space in that egg is definitely paying off, taking control and holding position. But he has to be cognizant. Identivez is going to think, and so are players of Rebel think, to try to rotate over. 3v1 opportunity. They will possibly have a 3v2 depending on if the help is going to be there for Praized. He's going to backtrack into the spawn. It's very, very important to anchor yourself back there. That allows the time for eUnited to be the reinforcements he needs. A smoke is going to go ahead and cloud the information. These players are going to allow it to slither around, maneuver around to get in the best position. Addvers gets headshotted by Powerz. That's going to be the end bar. 3v4 positioning. Crack goes down as well. A double kill from Powerz. This is the opening that eUnited need, not necessarily to take the lead,
Kenny,
but to take off with the rest of the game.
Oh, Kenny tried. He really did. But great team pickups, though, coming out from, I believe that's Kardia and Identivez, as they're forced back. eUnited trying to gain any type of control they can. Explosive will take that one. Now head down into Kardia. Not going to happen, though. Praized now has to bait and switch. Will he be able to get this? I don't think so. He's got too much pressure from Rebel, and a great hold from Rebel. And honestly, you know, kind of making what I said true off the beginning, right? You remember that first rotation, Rebel did a great job off of this second hill. And now that we're in that fresh rotation back to the hill where eUnited struggled a little bit, it seems as if they're struggling once again. But maybe, just maybe, this is the break EU needed. Crack needs to pick up elims for Rebel, and that's one.
Like it's Crack versus Powerz at this point in time. It's able to get the elimination number one. Crack goes down, though. They're staggering out that depth to make Powerz spawn a little bit sooner, to give their numbers advantage a little bit longer, and go ahead and allow that opportunity to get that much more of a lead. But once again, like I said towards the last one, you're not going to win off of this one. It's going to be rotation after rotation, probably 2, maybe 3 hills at the most to continue on into this game. But you see everybody fighting for the middle, and it's Powerz yet again. 35 eliminations, blocks the kick. He goes down. Addvers gets saved. It's Crack yet again, trying to be the hero. He gets the down on a Kenny. Everybody's down in the middle, but Crack gets both of those eliminations.
Wow.
Can he be stopped? I told you, when it comes to slaying, it's Crack versus Powerz.
I mean, Crack is just, I mean, first it was Identivez off the start. Now, granted, still a respectable performance, but Crack has been out of this world, and eUnited is feeling it. I know they are, but they can't be fazed by it too much because they still have a 30 or so point lead. But Rebel, great elims once again, good team fire, but they still got to break the hill. Addvers, he's going to be leading the charge.
You brought this on yourself.
He gets taken out quickly. Kenny sneaking by, being the hidden man there, getting that elimination. You see all 4 members trying to get in position while they maintain the spawn point on the side of Rebel. This is a little bit of a mismatch if eUnited can take advantage. Crack goes down, a flash to stop the revive. Powerz goes down, but the revive or the reinforcements from Praized to pick up those eliminations are huge. And look at Rebel, they're beginning to get staggered around. There's 30 seconds left on the time, but that's more than enough to get your teammates to spawn up and get a last attempt, but they get staggered yet again. So I think you're right, that might have been the final nail in the coffin, barring any miracles to come out from Rebel.
And you can see how confident eUnited was in their individual slaying power, right? They pushed directly out, up ahead to meet Rebel head on, not allowing them to get even within 10 yards of the hill. And Kardia, pretty much the last one, he's going to be gone and wrap it up 300 to 215. eUnited will take map 1.
Yeah, I know I don't have the exact stats like Colin would put out, but you can obviously see throughout the start of that game, it started with eUnited taking early control. It went back and forth up until at least 2 big holds coming out from eUnited. 1 retake and 1 big hold to carry a big amount of separation in that point category, and a big performance coming out from Xplosive and Powerz, almost averaging 40 kills apiece.
Man, yeah, I mean, 40 kills apiece is insane. 41 specifically for Powerz. Xplosive at 38. Kenny not far behind at 33, and Praized down there at 26. But all around slaying-wise, there's no question. eUnited outslayed the team of Rebel. Looking at Crack, he was at 25. Identivez at 20. You know what? Not bad. Literally only 3 eliminations separate everyone on Rebel. You got 25, 22, 23, 25. So very well done. A lot of breaks coming out from Crack, and that makes sense, right? Crack was that guy who was consistently turning the tides for Rebel in certain moments, right? Coming into the hills, being aggressive, picking up massive elims, huge 2 pieces, 3 pieces, literally taking on the entire team of eUnited, and quite honestly, being successful. This is one of those moments, picking up 2 for himself. Addvers, though, in a lot of these replays, you know, he's at 25 with Crack. So Crack and Addvers, the 2 main slayers during Regency.
Yeah, and I think overall it has to come down to, I know Colin likes to talk about those big team fights, but it was staying alive, buying the time, and getting those eliminations when you weren't as a full roster. You could possibly see it in some of these replays. It was Crack trying to go off, trying to be the hero, but it was Powerz and Kenny, especially late in the game. Kenny getting that sneak play, catching somebody off guard, and I said it was Rebel. They were just playing too individual. They didn't take that extra second, that extra moment to make a move at a team, and it cost them in the end.
And, you know, I think the big thing, too, to take away, obviously, Colin is very right to just, you know, focus on the team fights. That's literally how you win control, in my opinion. At least if you want to be consistent in control, you've got to win your team fights. Bottom line, period. eUnited won just more team fights, you know, just plain and simple they did. And that's apparent with just the slaying power, just the high numbers that they were able to achieve. In fact, some of the highest elimination numbers across the board as a collective unit that I've seen in quite some time. So very well done from them. For Rebel, though, we look back and I reflect on it. I'm like, when were they accumulating points? How were they accumulating points? Well, they did win some team fights as a whole, but for the most part, it was because of Crack and Identivez absolutely going crazy and slaying out and taking over the hill for themselves, and then allowing Rebel to post up and you know, set up defensively. But if it wasn't for Crack and Identivez in those heroic moments, would Rebel have got as many points as they did? And I don't think so, because collectively as a team, they just simply were not winning as many team fights. Individually, they're playing very well, but team-wise, they still have a lot to adjust to, and that's fair. Addvers, though, I think fit in very well, and for what it's worth, I think Rebel looked pretty incredible for such a last-minute adjustment.
And it goes to show how one stupid person's mistake, how just one bad error on the side of Demon could just have that ripple effect on the rest of the team that nobody really had anything to do with that one. But I was kind of thinking into this one, are they going to go ahead and try to rebuild the entire team, put people in different positions, different roles, or are they going to take like a page out of the Vanquish playbook, kind of a plug and play? This is your spot. This is what you're going to do. They went for that first choice. They're kind of rebuilding. They're kind of refiguring out things. So I kind of expect things like this. But to me, it shows signs of greatness, though.
Sure.
Yeah, Identivez, even though it was Demon in that first half that was kind of slaying out, Cracked as well, that Identivez still has it in him to step up when his team needs it most. So throughout this season, I don't expect Rebel to kind of fight for first place through and through because of the rebuilding. But once that last major rolls around, I feel a little bit of confidence. I feel a little bit of warmth in me that Rebel will be a contender, somebody at least to be a threat to some of these squads.
And I think Rebel has to be considered a threat. You know, even with the Demon exiting and Addvers being in Demon's place, I don't view Rebel as like a bottom of the barrel team. I really don't. Never. You know, that would be disrespectful to say, because Rebel, again, is a team that consistently surprises me and surprises, I think, everyone out there. You've got to take them seriously. And if you don't, you could be upsetted and quite possibly lose the series in general if you're not ready to fight or fire on all cylinders. And I mean, that was very apparent with how Identivez and Crack stepped up. You mentioned the DNA changing a little bit, and it has to. One of the things that Demon brought to the table that was incredibly valuable, minus his just slaying power, was he could also play the 1v spot, go out on his own, and you had good faith and good confidence that he could win those engagements. But now with Demon missing, it's either Identivez or Crack who kind of have to be the ones to be the, you know, go out and be by themselves and be that confident, which I have faith in them. I really do. But then again, where do you put Addvers? I don't know, but execution is a lot different. How do you think this one's going to match up? We're going into checkout execution, big team fights. Who has the edge in your opinion?
Honestly, you almost have to give it a coin toss in this one because of how well Rebel was able to play. But if I had to pick one, it has to go to eUnited due to the strategy, due to be able to trap people in. But I always talk about it. Check out just a very fast and aggressive map. If you're able to kind of pinpoint somebody out, get that first blood, and kind of use your numbers for there, I could see Rebel taking this series. I even said I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to kind of use that momentum, use that same strategy of map number one, and kind of catch eUnited off guard. It could be 2-0, but I still think they have it in them. Addvers just needs to step it up, fill into those teams. And to me, we've seen this before in Gears Esports many times. And most recently, kind of the biggest one that goes to mind is when we lost Mental. When UIU lost Mental, it wasn't about kind of filling those shoes, even though we kind of use that as a lackluster term, a general term. It wasn't necessarily about filling the shoes, but figuring out your new play style, figuring out what this new Rebel is going to be exactly with the addition of Addvers, how he's going to fit in the squad. Like I said, there's going to be people that are going to have to switch up roles. They're going to have to switch up spots on the map, but overall, it's for the greater good of the team. And honestly, playing against like a team like eUnited, yeah, it's one of those bittersweet feelings. You want to beat them overall, but this is a team that's going to test the early stages of what you've been able to do with this new roster.
When it comes to checkout, you mentioned those big team fights, and we will see those big team fights. I highly expect, something tells me eUnited is going to be more aggressive than usual because they feel as if maybe they have the added edge over that of Rebel. And with this being a new roster, they're not going to be as comfortable. So eUnited might be able to test the boundaries, Jacob, by being more aggressive and applying that pressure and not allowing Rebel to think through some of the strategies, right? Because realistically, they've only had, what, about a week to practice as a team. So you got to expect Rebel to be a bit shaky on their execution strats.
Yep, I will say, though, if they have any tricks up their sleeve, if Rebel do want to try things themselves, aggressive strats, aggressive pushes, maybe some fake four-man overs, maybe some fakes overalls with some smokes, depending on how you want to toy with that 1v1, this would be the time to go ahead and test it because there's not very much information on you guys as a roster for eUnited to prepare. So we talked about Hunted Season throwing out 8 different strats. Maybe this is an opportunity for Rebel to throw out 8 different strats, and honestly, this is going to be one of them. This is called icing on the cake. Make them think you're ready when they're not.
I see. That's called icing on the cake. That's the official term, Jacob. You've been cooking too much, man. You're getting wild now. Now you're like Gordon Ramsay, throwing out all these like references to food. You're becoming Colin.
Hey, maybe when this first LAN event rolls around, I'll open a little catering shop for after the event if you guys want to go ahead and order it in. But round number 1 is finally underway. That was just a little stall. Like I said, the icing on the cake. Powerz trying to take early control in the middle. It's Identivez who is going to be the first one towards that flat side. Him and Addvers working side by side, but an early down on Addvers. First blood goes on over to eUnited, but this is the quick map. Very aggressive. They're not going to slow down just yet, but luckily, a bad instant thrown on the side of eUnited is going to create some separation and allows Identivez to rotate over and get elimination.
Maybe there's still hope for eUnited, though. Like you said, Identivez picking up that elim was absolutely crazy. And granted, he's still up. Kardia falls. Identivez in a 1v3. Nowhere he can go. He's going to fall very shortly. You have to assume, and there he is. He's gone. But, yeah, Jacob, much like I kind of thought, you know, eUnited was right in Rebel's face. Granted, almost some heroics from Identivez, but EU, once they had their foot on the gas pedal, they never hit the brake.
And that's what you got to do, especially if you're able to kind of pinpoint, get first blood. It was kind of, you watched your hands, but you forgot about the feet in that moment where they created a big distraction in towards the middle. Addvers and Identivez side by side. They acted like they were going to pinpoint Identivez. So Addvers was there to be a protector, but Addvers was the true target. They were to lance it towards the back lane and kind of figure out who they wanted to get first blood on. But this is the opportunity for Rebel now. Identivez goes, gets the quick pick onto those instants. Now he has an opportunity here to take over this round.
All right, let's see if he's going to be able to do so. This would be a major play. Powerz rotated out. Does Addvers take the opportunity? He doesn't. Well, at least he tries. He does get it down. Perfect instant, but maybe not. Just a bit short. That could have been a two-piece. Watch your flank, though. Praized is there, and Identivez dropped, and I do believe eUnited is still at 4-stack now against one of Crack and Praized, the hero from EU. Was anybody challenging him up top? I don't think so. No one tried to challenge him for the nades and therefore allowed him to get onto the flank and surprise the boys of Rebel.
Yeah, it was probably one of those things where I'll talk about. You toy with your opponent in the 1v1. They don't have any information on your strategies. They don't know what type of game plan you want to prepare for, but Checkout's very, very aggressive. If you take too long on your strategy, you're going to allow them to get out alive. Identivez, I feel like, should have tried to aim for that player towards the back pillar, not allow Powerz for an escape plan through the middle, but I digress. That's just something you're going to have to learn as a team, but Powerz taking a page out of the Rebel playbook, going for a quick pick, cost him his life, trades back and forth. Identivez falls, so does Xplosive. Identivez, or I should say Addvers, into that flat side. He's taking a ton of damage, coming down to a 2v2 here. Crack gets taken out there. Powerz with the instant. He wastes the last one. Kardia is getting separated towards the back lane. Nothing slowing down just yet. The advantage goes over to Powerz. He gets the first down. 1v2 situation for Addvers. New man on the block. Now it's time to prove your worth.
Yeah, I mean, this is a possible situation, but Powerz picks up the snipe, and unfortunately for Addvers, he's just got to press forward, hoping the snipe is going to be missed, and, well, it was, but the Lancer shots are going to connect, and, well, that's going to be the end of Addvers. A big opportunity for Rebel. They get the first blood, but then they don't capitalize, unfortunately. eUnited picks up the incense, was able to connect onto one, forced the players back off of Plat, and ultimately take control. That's a big L for Rebel.
That's what I'm saying. Rebel it just looks like they're just on different pages about what they want to do. They were able to
be expected, though.
Exactly. They're a new team, but you can kind of see the talent is there. You can see they're trying to figure it out as they go along. So, like I said, I don't expect them to take too long, or at least I'm hoping they don't take too long. Identivez now going to switch up the strategies yet again, going towards the back lane, tries to get the sniper, but Powerz gets a double kill. They sniff that one out, and that's because they marked him before the smoke was able to kind of cloud any of their positions. But now Kardia in a 1v2 position. He gets taken out. Both frags and instants being used on him. Now it's a 1v3 for Addvers. This is not looking good. He's able to get it down, but Crossfire is just too much. eUnited take over.
And I do want to compliment, we put a lot of emphasis on Rebel and, you know, their struggles. Obviously, Addvers, the new cog in the machine, they're going to struggle a little bit. But eUnited is playing very well, Jacob. They played very well on Regency. The slaying across the board was incredible. And even here in Checkout, I understand we expected Rebel to struggle. But, Jacob, I'm really impressed with eUnited as a whole. I think they're playing great.
Now, they're doing a good job of just not letting Rebel breed. They're doing a good job of just taking advantage of the fact that they have more experience. They have more depth of strategy, and they're more sure about what they want to do in every situation here today.
Powerz, big shots. Addvers will fall. Identivez also down, but picked back up. He's got the instance in his hand. The opportunity to change the tides are here, and that's going to be one out of the way. Rebel, though, up with Identivez. Instant in hand. He's got to dodge the snipe. He's got to dodge Powerz. I like that play. Oh, he just takes himself out. He knew it was pretty much over. Did you see the way Powerz was rotating around with the Lancer, allowing or forcing Identivez to then overexpose himself to the sniper shot? Good communication, good teamwork from EU.
And you can just kind of see on a fast map like Checkout, you have to be very, very sure of yourself. If there's a hole, a team like eUnited, these elite teams will expose it time and time again. And that goes to show if you go ahead and attack too early, get spotted, giving up your position, you get caught lacking, getting crossed out in the open. There's just so many opportunities right now for eUnited. But you got to think it's that difference maker. Addvers going ahead and being that new player on the block. Identivez takes a ton of damage. Frag Grenade's going to get in a trade. Identivez becomes the target. 2v2 situation, though. Nobody out wide. Instance versus Sniper. Kraken went off in map number one. What can you do here? Separated by the instant. Addvers gets taken out. It's up to Crack. 1v2 situation. With the Sniper, though, it's definitely doable as long as he can continue to create space.
There it is. He's got to connect. This is going to be the most critical connection he can make to force it to a 1v. But like you said, the bait is in. The body shot will be the only shot he hits. Another one, but can he capitalize? He cannot. Powerz takes him out. And EU will get a 6-0 victory on Checkout, take a 2-0 lead in this best of 5, one map away from taking it. We have Escalation Vasgar coming up next. There's a lot to break down, not only from Checkout, but also Regency. And we got to talk about Escalation Vasgar, of course. And will EU close this out 3-0? Well, they very well could. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back. Pro League Split 3 Phase 2 Day 1. I'm Taylor Reflections Noble, joined by Jacob MVPR. A dominant victory on Checkout execution. Jacob 6-0. eUnited looked incredible. Rebel had their moments, but unfortunately they let those moments slip time in and time out.
Yeah, when you have to be quick, when you have to be precise on a map like Checkout, where every single millisecond matters. I'm not even gonna just say second. When every single millisecond, every single adjustment that you make matters. A team like eUnited, if they go ahead and sniff and smell some weakness, they're gonna go ahead and take advantage, and they're gonna expose it time and time again. You saw players getting crossed out a little bit too much, caught out of positions a little bit too quickly, and even when they had control, they were just unable to execute and capitalize on the control that they had. And that almost makes me scared for a map like Vasgar, to where you have to be on point round after round after round. You have to be on the same page, to where if you slip up a little bit, it could cost you. I'm not going to say it's going to cost you the entire round, but it's going to put you in a hole that you don't want to go ahead and put yourself in against a team like United.
You know, EU didn't play well during the MSP. Vasgar was one of those maps they did not play well on, surprisingly, but maybe today is, well, obviously today's a different day. It's not MSP and it's not the last phase either. As I said, Control, Regency, Execution, Checkout, eUnited's been playing absolutely flawless. They look incredible. They're on point. They really are. I mean, we voted for them for a reason. We know that coming into this, they were going to have a tremendous advantage. And like you said, going into Escalation, Vasgar, things are getting scary for Rebel. You just introduced a new cog in the machine of Addvers, and granted, the last time he competed in Pro League was Escalation, right? It was purely Escalation. It was on Team Queso, though. They only beat Elevate. That was the only win they were able to get, I think, out of the 12 or 13 they ended up playing. So, Jacob, this might be where Rebel ends, and they could, in fact, be 3-0'd, which isn't a terrible surprise, but who knows? Maybe they got some life in them and they could surprise us.
Yeah, hopefully they actually at least show something here, because like I said, I don't think Red Bull's going to be battling for first throughout the course of this season. Yeah, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before in the past. It's more finding yourself, preparing for that major event that is just not too long away. Honestly, it's just a few weeks around that corner, so you guys better prepare for that one. And I think that's what Rebel needs to set their eyes on, escaping that relegation, preparing for the major, so on and so forth, because you guys have a blueprint. You guys already have the structure of your team, the foundation built. It's just about figuring out how Addvers fits into that system, who you can shift around, and what strategies you might need to kind of rework there for a moment. But it's not impossible for a team like Rebel. Like I said, this is where you take that test on the day number one of school. It's just the evaluation. Figure out where you're at as a team. Figure out what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are, and what you need to improve throughout the course of the split.
So let's talk about Addvers. Where do we think he's going to be playing when it comes to Vasgar Escalation? Because Demon was instrumental in the success, specifically on across really all game modes, of course. Escalation, though, he was that player you could depend on in those 1v spots if he found himself there. Identivez always kind of found himself there in those 1v spots, too. And I expect him to kind of play on his own, probably more so than anyone else. Who knows? But where do you think Addvers is going to be? Would it be better by himself? Do you think maybe he's better paired up with, Crack or Identivez? Where do we expect him to be playing at?
I can see either Identivez or Addvers going ahead and playing that 1v1 spot on towards Vasgar, possibly a 2-1, depending on which side you're at, and going ahead and working together. Crack and Kardia, I think they're teamwork players. Even though Crack's a big slayer, I think they're more utility. They're teamwork players. You put them in the main fight, the teamwork fight, even if that fight does end up in like a kind of 1v1, Kardia, Crack going in that side of the map, I can kind of see that happening. But when it comes to Vasgar, it's going to be up to, I think, Identivez overall. Addvers is going to go ahead and fit more into the team. Like I said, instead of that plug and play, fitting Addvers into Demon spots, I think Rebel's taking the route of reworking a few things, figuring out the strategy is, who's going to be the tip of the spear on the map, on which rounds, depending on what the strategy is, because we know Escalation's an ever-evolving game mode, depending on how the weapons plays. And in Rebel, I think they have an opportunity here as well. eUnited is one of those teams that put the weapons center lines, so that way they take them away from the side. Speaking of the incendiaries and the shocks, Rebel can begin to shift their meta on over towards that, disrupt teams. And like I said, nobody right now with only a week of practice knows what they're going to do.
You know, it's funny. We did Escalation for so long. I mean, pretty much, the entirety of the start of Gears 5 competitive. And then it's like, we didn't really start seeing big changes until 4v4. And then we saw even the most massive changes taking place when we transitioned into the 3 game mode of Control, Execution, and Escalation. So it's funny, but it's great to see. You love to see it. Let's get it started now. I've been having a great time.
No, I'm saying Crack by himself down there? Like I said, I can see
I didn't
him
even
and
hear what you
Kardia
said. That's why my
continue to play-
response sounds
no,
so.
that's fine.
Yo, I thought you said I'm having a great time. I'm having a great time too. That was my boomer ears. Like I'm
doesn't
just
matter
responding with random
what game
stuff.
it is, what event it is. I could be casting a birthday party with kids with you. I'm definitely having a ball and making sure that it is entertaining as can be. But Crack puts the 1v1 down low. They're gonna get the early point lead, and they're able to hold off. They only get a trade towards the top half of the map, but because of Crack and his 1v1 victory, that's just enough to put the pressure on eUnited, force them to make a move. But it's going to be a move made by Rebel, a rotation. They're going to attack the numbers advantage towards the top half of the map and hopefully gain control of eUnited's home.
All right, eUnited with that 2-1 so far. Great shots from Powerz, literally handling Crack and Identivez by himself, and it looks like a domination is going to be coming through, and it is going to be a domination for EU, and I believe in less than a minute, if I'm not mistaken. We'll definitely find out, but it doesn't matter really what the time is, 1:13. The reality is eUnited dominated that first round.
Yeah, that was good by those two players that were kind of at the top portion, anchoring that position. As you saw, I do believe it was kind of number 5, might have been Powerz. Got to see who it was on the side eUnited that extended down low. They wanted to fight again in a 1v1 against Crack, but instead of going ahead and try to solidifying the defense, he already won that initial 1v1 off spawn. He wanted to play the team game. He rotated back, sent 4 players over, but those players lost the fight. They were caught out, trying to make a flank towards the middle from somebody newly fresh off spawn. It might have been the guy Crack killed off of the initial, and it cost them the overall game. That's what I'm saying. You guys need to figure out what your game plan is. I don't know why after Crack already winning that 1v1 why you would rotate him off. All right, who's not playing?
That's it. You know what?
Number 1.
Everybody's here. Seriously, everybody's here. Everybody's moving. All right.
That's all right.
So
that's all right.
There we go. We got stalemate. Thank goodness we got stalemates in the game, man. This is like one of the best additions that we've had for quite some time. Okay, at least from a broadcast perspective, man. We just stalemate it, restart again. We don't have to go through round and round and round, have a 10-minute break. Beautiful. You love to see it.
I think of the news Shawnee gave us during MSP. I'm like, but wait, there's more. Wait till we get the new leaderboard, the new stat leaderboard. That was going to be amazing. We're gonna see who's really a slouch, and I feel bad because I feel like once, twice, maybe even more, I might call him out. But Xplosive right now goes down early. Praized trying to be the hero that they need. He gets caught out by Kardia. Maybe a little bit over aggressive, but when things go according to plan, you gotta make those adjustments. You gotta make something happen. That's what's happening here on the other side. Powerz though, and that's gonna be what they need. They can anchor themselves, keep this game going, and they don't lose their home hill as well. This is gonna be very great for eUnited, barring that initial.
So to point out, by the way, Addvers in that 1v spot, so kind of picking up where Demon left off, but he gets absolutely ran through, and eUnited all over Charlie. Rebel now off of the respawn in a big 3v3. You got the 1v on the other side. That's going to be Crack, opposite of that of Kenny. If Kenny can win that, we could be looking at a potential domination in the hands of eUnited. Crack, good shot on the Kenny. He should win this fight, and he does. Well done. That's going to open up A, and eUnited. What's the game plan here? They're kind of pincered in between Rebel members.
Yep. You can kind of see the game plan coming through from eUnited. They're spreading the defense thin, and they're trying to take their numbers. But this is where you have the opportunity here towards the top side. Exactly that. Praized takes the 1v1 due to separation between Crack and Identivez. Win his home hill back. Luckily for them, they were kind of able to anchor themselves onto the home hill of Rebel. They're going to go ahead and keep the hill on their hands, but they lose the neutral. Kenny not only gets the decap, actually, no, he gets pistoled up. He doesn't get the capture. Kardia forces him back. There goes the elimination. That gives the numbers advantage on over to Rebel, but he did it once. He's not going to be able to do it again. They learned their lesson. Backtrack, using the numbers advantage once more, getting Powerz out, forcing Xplosive in towards the middle, and I think they're going to do it again.
Kardia full red though. That's going to be a nice win from player 7. Xplosive now is able to rotate back, and this is going to be a great position to be in because now Addvers is being lancered and Xplosive continue to push forward confidently. They'll let him stagger out because, like you said, get in the hill, man. Don't allow anything crazy to happen. Well, the round continues. Mere points separates Rebel and eUnited. Rebel takes a little bit of a lead, but eUnited is fighting tooth now to get onto A, but it's going to be hard to get through Identivez and Crack, who slayed out during the control Regency. I expect them to be a deadly duo to battle against, and you don't want to do it alone, and that's why player 6 Powerz will have some help by 2 other members. That's going to be Praized and Kenny.
Yeah, Xplosive was just trying to buy as much time as humanly possible so they don't get triple cap and dominated towards the bottom. They got the elimination on to Crack. 30-point lead for Rebel, though. That's going to be the big thing to notice. They're going to get 2 hills under their control, but Identivez overstaying his welcome. Gets eliminated. That one's going to be staggered out. And this is the moment eUnited. Once they get that 4th man up, they need to play precise. They need to play together. And this is where it happens. They're going to go ahead and overextend towards the top, get the 2 hills under the belt. The thing is, that doesn't give up the win condition yet. They need a triple neutralization. And this is where they have to attack. They're going to wait for Identivez to spawn, figure out where he's going to go, and then go from there. Oh, a trade.
It's a big trade. It's actually a massive trade at this point. Rebel can't lose a single member. You know that. Powerz running through the competition. Crack, you got to get your health back up, brother, but unfortunately, you got a player attacking you from the back as well. And this should be the round going over towards eUnited. The domination starting to come into effect. Rebel just mere points away, but I think that's going to be GG, and it should be. eUnited wins in just a couple of seconds, and they take it. Rebel, just like on checkout execution, when they had the advantage, they ended up squandering it away. eUnited does the same thing to them here on Escalation. Vasgar, heartbreaking.
Yeah, it just seems right now, eUnited, when it comes to kind of overstaying your welcome, knowing when to back up, they're doing it just a little bit better against Rebel. Like I said, Identivez, he was backtracking, trying to stay alive, but to me, I felt like if he would have just kept backtracking, stay keeping his life, buying his team some more time, that would have been enough of a cushion for his team to spawn up on the other side of the map. But that's what happens when you're a new team. You got to wonder what the communication is like, how flustered it may be. Honestly, it could even be a little bit silent here. It could wonder what Demon, and the lack of Demon, I should say, is doing to the team past his slaying abilities. How much communication, how much input did he have overall on the team?
What do we have here?
All right, here we go. Rounds number 3. Nothing too crazy, just retros. Pretty standard. Rebel, last time they played on this side, remember, Jacob, they unfortunately had a very quick loss. It could be the same thing here for EU, but it's Rebel not being as aggressive as they were off that first round. They see eUnited set up 3 strong, and we're going to see player 1 Identivez rotate over to help player number 4. That's also going to send player 7 Xplosive back with the retro. So it's going to be a 2v2 on opposite ends of the map.
Gotta make sure that they stay close. Xplosive is gonna make sure to hold on to that angle, get as much damage as possible. These 2 players need to make sure if they've taken any damage, making any moves, that they go ahead and play towards a revive, because they're gonna take a lot of damage just like that. Crack goes down. He gets cleaned up though. Identivez doing what he can. He was only able to get it down on the Praized. Doesn't clean it up. He gets taken out by Xplosive. Quick revive, quick kills. That's gonna be 2-1 in favor of eUnited early on. It's not too much to worry about if you're Rebel, especially if you're able to stay confident and trust your teams on the other side of the map, and they're forcing eUnited back. They're alleviating some pressure, but they need an elimination here. They need a break on one of these hills.
This is going to be a big break, too. I love the angles from Crack, though. To get an angle on Powerz dropping him. Kenny as well. Nothing they can do in that moment. Good teamwork, great communication. And Rebel goes to take the 1 hill, but unfortunately loses the other. That was Identivez trying to hold his ground, but he was pincered between Xplosive and Praized. Xplosive hitting so many great shots with that retro. Rebel now 3 strong, it seems, waiting for the other one to come off the rip, but Charlie is where the fight is going to ensue. They'll also try and take over A, but eUnited has a decent lead. Rebel needs to get to work and fast.
Yeah, Addvers trying to reposition himself, hold on to much of that back line as humanly possible, but like I said before, you can't be just playing to survive. You got to be able to kind of make those moves, create that perfect strategy, and get an opening for yourself. Addvers with that retro is somebody I'm going to be looking at, whether he's going to be aggressive, try to push up, try to get across, open up some sort of pathway. Identivez has a 1v1 on this side of the map, though. That's one of the question marks before this one. Who is playing that 1v1 spot? How can they capitalize? That's going to be a big stun. Some damage being forced on. Identivez, though, unable to gain any inches against Praized. One of the best defensive players. Reinforcements over the top. Powerz and Praized take out Identivez. Even though it looks like they might break one side of the map, and I might have spoke too soon in that regard, they're not going to win the other. Everything falling apart for Rebel late into this round.
And that's going to be it. 5 seconds. Not enough time for Rebel to get back off the respawn. Go forward. You see them staying in their spawn. 250 to 140. Pretty dominant round for the boys of EU. That's 3-0. And at this point, Jacob, what do we do if we're Rebel, right? I mean, we're not winning the OG fights. We're not winning the standard pacing with just a retro. Even if a shock or something was out on the map, it wouldn't make a difference. Do you force a fight on take with the long shot? Do you maybe get a little bit crazy? I don't know. I was seeing EU do it. They were placing a long shot up in Heli, which is a bit wild, but they were doing it. So Rebel, what's the game plan? Looks like we're getting something on tank, whether it be a long shot or a M-bar. It's going to be the M-bar, fair enough. And that's cool. But is it going to change things? Maybe. Rebel, when they do butt heads with the United, they're not a bad team.
You just got to be careful, though, because this is a placement that is good on the United side. Look at that strategy down low. I knew this was coming immediately when I saw the side.
For the quick
4 players down low, and it's a mismatch. Look at Crack across the map, and he's not able to kind of affect this fight just yet. He's going for a decap. Rebel needs to figure out a way to survive. Crack goes down. I should say Identiv goes down. Crack has continued the rotation. Addvers playing for his life. So is Kardia, but they get separated. They're playing like individuals here, and it's costing everyone their lives. Luckily for them, even though the eliminations went in way of the United, the early score lead is going to fall in way of Rebel for how long here, as the United has everything.
United does such a good job, and they did this to Fire and Ice in the last major, right? When they feel like they have an advantage and they feel like the other team just isn't up to par with where EU is currently at. EU makes it a point to punish you, right? And that's exactly what they did off that start. You place it in bar down. Ouch. Hey, fair enough. You're placing that on a good spawn. We're going to rush you 4 strong. Praized had 0 respect to anybody on Rebel in that moment, brother. He pushed directly in. He picked up his E-limbs. He threw out the stun perfectly. He capitalized in that moment. And that's what EU does very, very well. Unfortunately for Rebel, they're feeling the effects of it. Xplosive is going to back off. Great shot, though, onto Identivez. And even if EU doesn't get this hill, will Rebel even be able to thrive? I don't think so. Praized will pick up Addvers. Kardia gets onto 1. Xplosive going for the connection, but at this point, it's just a game of cat and mouse. Rebel trying to stay alive, which they might, but again, will they thrive? I don't think so.
They just need to make sure if they're going to die here, anybody who dies, at least a trade to come through. Kenny getting cracked. No trade just yet. Another one coming through. Kardia goes down. It's not cleaned up just yet. Revived. Finally, they're able to hold on here, but you got to look at the score line. eUnited has 2-1, about a 40-point lead. So this is not bad if you're Rebel. You can still do this, and you have to believe you can, but you have to make sure you know time is not on your side. If you allow them to spawn up and defensively stop you, it's going to be lights out in this round. Already, you see the adjustments being made. 3 players spawn up, immediately go down low. Kardia gets 1, gets melee. Kardia gets 2. This is the opening that they need in the late portion of this round. Rebel trying to come back from the abyss. And there goes another elimination. The new trail is going to be broken, but towards the top, like you said, Praized gets the elimination. He gets the hill towards the top, and players are spawning for eUnited. I think they've done just enough.
And brother, that was a 1v2. He takes on Addvers and Crack, securing Charlie, keeping the 2-1 and putting Rebel in a do or die spot. 15 seconds. They have to split up. They've got to get on A. They've got to get on C. Plus, they have to simultaneously stop eUnited from getting off the respawn. I just don't know if there's enough time, but maybe there's an opening. 2 players drop off. That's 1 hill. Will they be able to get onto A in time? Well, let's find out. Kenny's going to get a critical down onto Identivez. And like I said, time just wasn't in the favor of Rebel. That's a 4-0 lead. 1 map or 1 round away for eUnited to take this series 3-0.
I know we don't really count control in the round-based game mode, but if you count control, you count that execution.
I'm going to say 9-0 or 10-0.
Straight right now. That's 11 straight rounds, brother. The 6-0 from the execution, the 4-0 from here, the 1 other round. It's already 11-0. It's looking like it's about to be 12-0, and this is what I need to see. Even if it's 12-1, even if they get shut out, that you need to show some life. You need to show some hope, some sort of a foundation. Like I said, this is basically letting us know where you stand as this new roster, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. And right now, there's not very many strengths and a whole hell of a lot of weaknesses.
Yeah, a lot of weaknesses indeed. A lot of weaknesses indeed. Granted, to start off your split to, your new phase to play against EU round 1, is your first opponent. Not going to be easy despite EU struggles in the past, but United is playing very well. And again, they understand Rebel has made some changes and they're capitalizing by being overly aggressive. And is this going to be shooting fish in a barrel? What seems to be the case. Identivez, he's got to get out of here. Connects though. Not going to be a headshot. United continues to push forward.
gonna have to leave Kardia out to dry. I agree with that play. You have the M-bar. You have a big power weapon, an opportunity to take over the game, but it's Powerz creating this disruption, goes down, and that's what, oh, I thought they didn't get in the hill for that moment. Powerz getting staggered out. Xplosive is gonna go ahead and get as much information as he can, not make it easy for Crack to capture this hill, so no points being gained right now for Rebel, and this is with their lives on the line, not only in this map, but the series as well.
It's going to be a tough spot, but it is going to be possible. You hear the domination starting to tick through, but F is going to be player 1. Player 8 doing everything he can, but unfortunately for Kenny, a bit outnumbered there in that moment. It's going to be a 3v2. Crack's coming back off the respawn. Kenny will be there shortly, but Rebel still doesn't have the 2-1. They're down a substantial number of points and a lot of work to be done. And this has been a reoccurring theme pretty much round to round the round. eUnited, yes, they get dominations, but if you look at when eUnited does cap out at the 250 mark, Jacob, it's because they take these massive early leads, forcing Rebel to make desperation plays, and desperation plays sometimes work, but more often than not, they normally don't. So this is not going to be a good spot for Rebel to be in, and still struggling to win the fights they get into. That's another 2 down for Rebel.
Yeah, you can already see inch by inch, United's just taking over the map, making sure that this can suffocate these people spawn after spawn after spawn. Identivez reaching for the stars, ends up with nothing, gets taken out. That's going to be a trade, though. Kardia is able to get Kenny down, but this is where the desperation sinks in. It's all or nothing here. Backs up against the wall. 25 seconds left is going to be the win condition for eUnited. You need a triple neutralization to come through, and you lose one player in Addvers across the map. 2v2 here at the top portions of the map. One player goes down. Crack, can you clean that one up? But you can't. You have to go. You can't just Lancer here. You have to go forward, and I think you're right. I think that's going to be it, especially with that revive and elimination going through. eUnited 12 straight rounds dominate Rebel and take the series 3-0.
Flawless victory for eUnited. Very well done. And EU looked confident. They look strong. They look ready to play. Really a polarizing performance compared to how they played at MSP and how they played in the final weeks of Split 3 Phase 1. But eUnited back on top. Praized, Powerz 14-12 eliminations respectively. Very well done, Kitty, putting in that assist work. Xplosive even at 9-9. But overall for eUnited, a flawless performance. Rebel clearly showing they're struggling, to be expected. I'm not going to be too hard on them yet, Jacob, because I can't be. Yep. You have a big loss. It's something they didn't want, something they didn't expect to happen, but it did. So for the most part, my criticisms, I'm going to put them to the side. I might get a little bit more critical towards the end of the phase, but for now, it's clear to say Rebel is struggling to adjust. But again, eUnited, tough opponent to face off in day 1.
Yeah, like I said, this is more of like an evaluation match for Rebel, figuring out where you are. Like I said, you exposed a ton of a weakness, or say you got exposed with a ton of weaknesses, not being on the same page, not taking advantage of certain opportunities. But like I said, against a team like eUnited, you're not going to get very many opportunities. You're going to have to figure out some of your own. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest lessons for Rebel in here. You have to create more of those opportunities on your own instead of kind of relying on a team fight victory, relying on that initial. You're going to have to figure out something. And when your backs are against the wall, you just can't crumble. You can't start playing as individuals. You need to figure out a way to make teamwork be the #1 factor in your gameplay.
And I don't know if this is a positive or a negative, Jacob, but this is the only match they do have this week. They're going to be playing, or no, it's not. I apologize. They play again on Wednesday, and it'll be against the newly founded team of Hunting Season. I say newly founded in terms of being in the Pro League. So